Now we're rolling. Damage Plan MMA podcast. I am Jason Laporte. As always, my right-hand man, Mr. Zach Partridge. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
It's Friday. We got LFA fights tonight.
LFA fights. We have the world's on fire because of Robinhood and
GameStop and
Dogecoin and
hey,
the world
everybody
flipped upside down.
Everybody on social media is a stock analysis right now. Everybody.
Well, COVID happened. We were all doctors, and then we were all, might as well. Why not? We're all financial advisors now.
Yeah, now we're all financial advisors.
I'm telling everybody to invest in crypto.
Well, we got a special guest with us today. We've been trying to get this gentleman on for a while. Mr. Dutch, how you doing, sir?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Zach and I have been talking for a few months now about trying to get you on here, so we're glad you were able to join us today.
Awesome, man. I'm happy to be here and talk about MMA with you guys. So, thanks for having me on.
Where did you start in MMA?
So, I guess where did I start? So, I went to high school, junior high and high school in Japan.
Okay.
So, I started watching the first UFCs on like VHS back in the day, probably like in '98.
Okay.
So I've been a fan for a really long time. And I moved stateside in 2000. And then around, I think like 05, 06, I found out Jeremy Horn was here in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So I started training out of Jeremy's for a while. And I played sports in high school. So after high school, I didn't really do anything. And Jeremy was here, and I was like, you know what, let's get in shape and do this. I've been a fan for a long time. And I went in there, started training with Jeremy. And one day he come to me and like, you want to fight? And I was like, if you think I'm ready to take a fight, you're the man. Like, who am I to say no to you?
Right.
So I took a fight on Jeremy's very first show here in Utah.
Nice.
And then shortly after that fight, I've had a lot of medical problems that kind of kept me from pursuing fighting anymore. And going into judging was the best way that I could think of to stay active in the MMA scene. So I've been training still ever since then, off and on, whenever I can. I competed in Naga, in No-Gi, and Gi in 2014.
Cool.
And that's really been it, man. So I've just been judging for a really long time, a little over a decade, probably.
That's kind of what's interesting me is I've seen your resume. You've judged. I've seen you at the local shows, and then you've also had the opportunity to judge at some of the big promotions when they've come to town, right? So.
Yep. Yeah. UFC, Bellator, LFA, RFA, Invicta. I've judged in Idaho, Wyoming. Just wherever.
Nice.
So have you listened to our show before?
Yeah, I've listened to it a couple times.
Nice.
I'm a little harsh on judges occasionally.
You know what? We deserve it to some extent. There are, honestly, I believe in my heart of hearts that Utah has some of the best judges in the world. Like, I will go on record saying that, and I will die on that shield.
I believe that because you look at the top, and Scott Buller's phenomenal.
No, and you know what? Me, Dan First, Steve Farragher, Dennis McMahon, we're always talking in between rounds, in between fights. Before fights, after fights, we're saying, oh, what did you see here? Why'd you see this? What's going on here? And why we did that. And I really don't think any of us have an ego. I can't think of any time where one of us was like, hey, that was kind of messed up, or that wasn't the right thing to do. And if that was really something that really was my mind was changed on something, I've been like, you know what? I screwed up like that.
Yeah.
That guy shouldn't have lost that round, or, that I shouldn't have give as much credit to that as I did. Or there's been things where it's like, oh, from this angle, it looked like he got cracked. But you know what?
Yeah.
There was a fight with, do you guys remember Mike Chrisman, Sugarloaf?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh yeah.
There was
I
a
remember.
fight down in Wendover, and from one angle, it looked like he just got cracked. But from the other angle, that punch goes right past his face, and he slipped. And something huge like that can change around or change a fight. And
Yeah.
those kind of things, it's not on us that we made a mistake. It's just that's where we're at. That's why we have 3 judges. But
go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, do you think there should be some kind of accountability for the judges, kind of like almost like the NBA is doing with like the after action report, where they're saying, "Hey, we screwed up on this." Like, do you think maybe telling the public where maybe some of those mistakes might have been made? Do you think that would be helpful, or do you think it would hurt things?
I could see it being good. I know in Utah there is accountability. I mean, I've been brought in to the commission, and I've had to write basically a paper on a fight and go round by round, minute by minute, second by second of what I saw and why I judged that fight accordingly. And I've also seen a lot of people come through the ranks of trying and wanting to judge. And honestly, there's probably only 4 or 5 active judges here in Utah that are really consistently there. And those are the guys that have stuck in. We've got our ABC training. The guys have either shadowed or just kind of hung around for long enough to where they've earned that trust and respect from the commission that they are now people that get called all the time.
Yeah.
So, one of my, what do you think about open scoring? The LFA is doing as a judge.
I don't think it's bad. I don't know if in LFA, do the judges see what's going on in real time too? Do they get to see the other judges' scores as they happen?
I think that, yeah,
they do. Put it up on the big screen.
Yep. LFA and Invicta kind of started it, didn't they?
Oh yeah, Invicta did. Yeah,
Invicta started it, and then
kind of put it up on the big screen.
Yeah. So the fighters know, everybody knows what the scores are. Boom, boom, boom.
I would honestly love it if I was just in a soundproof booth and I didn't see nothing and I didn't hear nothing.
Keeping
I
all
would
the
love
distractions, keeping all the distractions.
Because like when I watch fights, if people invite me to their house, I'll go occasionally, but I would rather just sit there by myself at my house and watch fights. Every once in a while, I'll go to a friend's house or have people over. But for the most part, man, I don't care what anybody else has to say.
And nothing's more frustrating than sitting at fights with, like, you know, you fought or, you know, you've been around it or whatever. And people will be like, hey, you want to come over? And like, I'm not going to say any names, but I've watched fights with people and they're like, and they're sitting there and they're talking. And the whole time I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It's just,
like,
just get on.
Shut up.
Just get
I'm trying to watch what's going on right now.
Just get on Twitter.
It's not even that. It's stuff like too. It's like, oh man, like he needs to get up. He needs to get up. Yeah. I'm like, you know, it's not like that easy, right? You know, it's not just like, you know, like Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman's got Jorge Masvidal pinned against the cage. He's like, man, he's just got to get off that cage. Yeah. It's like, yeah, well, sometimes easier said than done, you know?
Yeah. When a man's trying to hold you down who knows what he's doing, it's kind of hard to get back up.
Yeah, sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
No, I've always thought that might be an interesting way, and because there's things that we hear, and unfortunately, I think we hear it a lot, like UFC commentators too. They'll say things, oh, that late takedown won him the round.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
That's a big one. Or you know, you hear it all the time. Like the fans will really like, oh, you know, and they'll scream.
Yeah, yep.
At just like little glancing shots that looked big that could influence judges. Mm-hmm. Has it ever been talked about or discussed about, hey, can we just get like 3 soundproof boxes around the cage and just let us sit in our box and watch the fights and maybe have you an intercom system between the 3 judges and that's it?
I mean, here's mostly between rounds, there's not really a lot of talk. It's mostly right after a fight's done. Like if it was like, oh man, round 2 was close. I wonder, even if it like ended in round 2, there's been times where I'm like, dude, how did you have that fight up until it got finished?
Yeah.
And we just kind of want to pick each other's brains and see what else is happening. I don't know how feasible it would be to have soundproof boxes. Like in a perfect world, I would probably like to have 9 judges sitting around that cage, all in soundproof boxes,
so
just
you would
watching fights.
You were judging 2 than 3.
I would. I mean, there's some fights where it's been like all 3 of us judges. One has it for fighter A, one has it for fighter B, and one fighter has it for fighter B again. But we all had different rounds for each fighter.
Yeah.
And a lot of it can be something where a guy had an arming guillotine that was on the other side of the cage from me. And I was like, oh, that didn't look like it was anything. But the other judge who was sitting right in front of him heard that guy gurgling, and it was like, dude, that was close. Like that did some damage either way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that I think more eyes on it would be good. And also too, I think having judges that train, that have been in there, that have had triangles put on them and know how bad it hurts, or know how bad leg kicks suck. Just things like that, knowing what it is. Well, like I'll see someone in a triangle, I'm like, that's not tight. He's good.
Yeah.
I'm not, that's not going into my scoring bucket.
Yeah.
Okay. So you train at Naga. What belt are you in jiu-jitsu?
I trained under Jeremy for a while. Jeremy didn't do belts. I probably in the last few years, I've been going back and forth to Westside Jiu-Jitsu. I have one stripe on my white belt.
Perfect. So maybe the better question is, so how long have you trained jiu-jitsu?
Off and on for a decade.
Okay. So you have so even if there's no official promotions or whatever, like plenty of experience. One of the criticisms that I've heard regularly, and when I watch fights, I feel like is fair. How many people judge that don't have any experience in the training? Do you feel like that's a big problem?
I don't know if it's a huge problem. I would say so. Like I'm just trying to think of a lot of guys locally. Like we have a few refs like Dave Selyusted, Tyler Tomlinson. Both have had a lot of fights. Trained a ton. Dan First is a judge. He's had, I think, 3 fights under his belt. Trained for a long time under Brian Yamasaki and those guys over at Mushin. Myself, I've had one pro fight with Jeremy. Did, like I said, did Naga, gi, no gi. Train mostly at Westside now. Steve Farragher, another judge, he's had a little bit of training as well, and no fights or anything like that. I do think you need a little bit of training. I'm not saying you even have to be a blue belt. I'm just saying, like, know what it feels like to have knee on belly. Just that sucks, 100%. Man. Having a guy who has a good base and who's tough and getting his knee on your belly, that sucks. So just knowing, like, okay, that's not bad. That guy's in a safe position right now. He's defending. We're not giving any points to that, but I know he's not taking any damage. He's not in any trouble. And those are the things I think you need to know far and beyond just being a person who watches the sport and has an idea what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Joe Rogan carries a ton of weight when he says something. It's like the MMA, like,
for sure,
fans go ballistic, right? And we've all heard the story where he said, like, he had a judge ask him, what is he trying to do when
I remember that one.
Doing like a Kimura or something. And she's like, and the judge leaned over and she was like, in the middle of the fight, asked me what he was trying to do. I'm like, get out of here. And I was like, one, if that really happened, that's probably, like, I'm sure the athletic commission wished that didn't come out if that really happened.
For sure.
It hurts credibility, but I've heard him say stuff too. It's like a lot of the commissions and it seems like Utah's a lot better, but as you watch it in these shows around the country, a lot of these athletic commissions, a lot of these judges are old boxing guys.
Yeah.
And they don't really know like jujitsu and grappling and clinch work and stuff like that. But hopefully it's phasing out of that a bit.
I was going to add on to that, Dutch. Would you be able with your, I don't know, is it a certification you get to be a judge? Could you go and judge a boxing fight?
I've done Muay Thai. I've done like American kickboxing as well. Honestly, I do it, but it's not my favorite. It's like anything else. Like I feel that I'm an expert at MMA. An expert in judging at MMA. Let me clear that up. But I understand combat sports. I understand the nuances. But like in kickboxing, they put more weight on certain things. It's not always about the most damage. It's not always about the most punches or a kick. They have different weight for different strikes. Yeah. And so kind of keeping track of that in my head is a little bit different sometimes. Whenever we kind of do a kickboxing thing, we kind of sit down and like, all right, here's what we're going over. You know, this is how they score it, all those things. So I think you can have a wide breadth of that stuff, but I also think you should be an expert in that one thing and kind 100%. Of really hone that in. I mean, I'm a fan of watching boxing, I'm a fan of watching kickboxing, all that stuff, but I would never say I'm an expert in that.
Yeah. I was just curious of, you know, because you, like Zach said, you'll see some of these coaches or some of these judges judging a boxing match and then judging a fight. It's like they're kind of the same. They're both combat sports, but there's a lot more that goes into an MMA fight than goes into a boxing match.
Definitely. And I mean, I could, like I said, I've done kickboxing, I've done boxing, I've done, I've helped even with just like local jiu-jitsu tournaments at local schools, just helping keep track of points and all that kind of stuff. So I've done it for a while, but I honestly think if you're an MMA judge, just try and be an MMA judge.
Has anybody tried to bribe you?
Jokingly, all the time. For real, no.
No, seriously. Hey man, I'll give you $50. Give me a 10-8 round. Give me a 10-8 round.
I don't know one fighter that's planning on going to decision beforehand anyways.
That's true. That's very true.
Like, I'm just going to grind out a decision right here. I'm not going for any decisions or knockouts. Here's a weird question. Have you ever judged one of my fights? Dutch, did you ever judge one of my fights?
Most likely. I'm sure I have. I almost do. I bet you I would do 99% of local shows.
Okay.
And so honestly, like I've done so many fights.
I'm sure.
I said we need to pull Zach's cards. I want to see how many 10-8 rounds he got.
Get out of here. Get out of here. I've only had one fight go to
decision. That's how I afford all my watches.
Oh man.
So current status of the UFC. You're a fan.
But
you're a fan of UFC and stuff too, right? You watch all the shows?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I follow it religiously.
What do you think about the state of the 155-pound division at the UFC? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see I want to see Dustin try and go for the belt. I think the McGregor rematch is kind of just meh. I think let the division move. It doesn't I think Conor's a name for himself, and I think he's going to get the pay-per-view buys no matter what.
Yeah.
And I would just like to see some other guys get a shot at that title that have been kind of in line. And I think there's enough things holding up that division with Khabib retired or not retired, Conor in and out with the champ stuff, all that stuff. Like that division's stacked. Let's just see some good fights. But also on the other end, I want to see people get paid. Like I know a lot of people don't like the spectacle stuff, but dude,
that's right.
With these Paul brothers coming out, like if these guys, if there's fighters can get paid, then you're getting smashed in the face. Get as much money as you can and Do whatever you got to do. This is entertainment in the end.
So this is my argument to actually have as for sport and fairness, Conor absolutely shouldn't. There should not be a rematch for the 155 belt. But if you want to get Dustin Poirier paid, let that man turn around and fight Conor McGregor again this summer, and let him get paid. And quite frankly, I think he beats him again this summer.
I think so too.
I think the only way that Conor actually has a chance is if he actually gets back into the mix and into the flow of things for a good year to 18 months and then fights Dustin Poirier again. But if they turn around and fight again, I'm all in on Dustin Poirier. It's like the biggest payday for the kind of least risky fight right now. I mean, Gaethje, Oliveira, those guys, I think they're all tougher fights for Poirier right now.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Even El Kakui. El Kakui is super tough.
Yeah, you're on the El Kakui train with me. Dutch, tell Jason what's up. Tell him what's up with El Kakui. He's
on the roller.
He's tough SOB. I mean, he's crazy. He's the new generation's
Diego Sanchez.
What's his face? Diego Sanchez. He's our new Diego Sanchez.
He is our new Diego Sanchez.
Yeah. So it's amazing. I love that division. There's so many. I mean, you could make a whole card of just 155ers. I would love to see it. I would love to. Dude, it would be amazing.
A whole like pay-per-view. The five fights, and 4 of them are the first round of an 8-man tournament.
Yeah, that'd be.
I'm totally down. I would love to see it.
What do you think about Israel Adesanya going up to 205?
Izzy's a tough dude. I don't know what else is there for him at 185. I can't really think of anything right now.
Nothing in my opinion.
Vettori?
And what's that?
Vittori's fighting Till. Vittori's fighting Darren Till.
I know, but if Vettori beats Till, like that's the next fight.
That's the next fight for him for sure.
He only beat him in a split decision last time they fought.
Yeah. I mean, there's fights for him there, and I understand it. And honestly, I think these guys are money grabbing for the champ stuff, 2 belts, and I think that probably brings them into the limelight. And like I said, I don't blame these guys for trying to get as much money as they can. I totally get it.
We've talked about it on our podcast before. There's a particular fighter that is arguably one of the pound for pound best fighters, but he's not marketable. Like, we're talking about Kamaru Usman. I watched an interview with him, and Zack and I were texting back and forth earlier, and it's just like, God, I mean, you can't deny the guy's abilities and his fighting ability. He's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world right now. But it's like nobody wants to see him fight. Nobody cares. Like it's like he's not promoted.
No, I want to see him fight. I don't want to I don't want to listen to him with a microphone in front of his mouth.
Yeah, he's not building up. You know, he's like he could be building up that Burns fight. Like, I mean, it just then you see guys like Jake Paul and Logan Paul doing these boxing fights with some of these with Ben Askren. And it's like they're marketing themselves. Love it or hate it, they're marketing.
Yeah,
themselves.
They're great. Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, in the end, it's sports entertainment. It's whoever's going to get more eyes on pay-per-views, more butts in the seats.
Dutch, with your vast knowledge and watching a ton of fights and as a judge, give me your take on Ben Askren versus the whatever Paul brother he's fighting. I can't even keep him straight.
Man, I don't know if I'm in the minority on this, but I know Ben Askren hasn't been known for his hands.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like these Paul brothers, like they seem tough, but like, I mean,
you're with me on this. You're on the Ben Askren train, huh?
I'm on the Ben Askren train. He's been training for what, 11, 12 years in MMA?
Yeah.
I can't remember when he had his first fight, but it was over a decade ago.
He's an Olympian. He's an Olympic athlete.
And he didn't just wrestle the whole time. Yeah, and he's going to be fighting some YouTube kid. And granted, he looks like a tough young kid, but
he's an athlete.
He's an athlete.
I don't know.
Yeah. So this is the only way that I can put it in my head to where it's like, I just feel like one's an Olympic athlete and one is more like do what I do. Like it's a hobby for them, right? Like I fight as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And for him, it's kind of like a hobby. He's never been a professional athlete in his life. It's different. One's an Olympic level athlete and the other one, it's a hobby. And there's different levels. Ben Askren's striking looks terrible. Has always been compared to world-class strikers in the 170 or 185 pound divisions, depending on whether he was at ONE or Bellator or the UFC, right? Yep. Jake Paul looked great against a former basketball player that won a dunk contest.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
You know, there's going to be some, like, I want to see what the Paul brother does the first time that Ben Askren cracks him. Because he's going to get hit.
I mean, yeah, for sure. And I know, like I said, I know the Paul brothers are, I think the one that's fighting Askren, I think he wrestled in college, possibly
so
D1. I don't know.
One of them did. Yeah, one of them wrestled at Nebraska.
Yeah, and I didn't know who these guys were until just recently. Yeah, so I looked them up.
I didn't really know who they were until one of them threw toilet paper at Dylan Dennis.
But yeah, I mean, I just think Ben Askren's okay, super high level boxing and a high level, competing at a high level with his boxing is going to be better than this dude who's came out for a couple years. And don't get me wrong, I really do think he's putting in the effort, Jake Paul or whatever Paul brother this is.
Is it Logan or
Jake?
Jake's fighting.
Give him a little bit of time. Give him a little bit of time, and I think he could be decent. But I also think they're just doing this for a cash grab as well. They're not trying to get real high-level boxers in there. They're trying to get names and money.
Well, so is the Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather fight? That fight already
that fell through. Yeah,
it fell through. What they said is because it didn't have enough interest. Bull. Like anything Floyd Mayweather does and anything Logan Paul does has interest. The reason why it fell through, in my opinion, is because Logan Paul wanted to be in there and be like, hey, you're not going to knock me out, right? And Floyd Mayweather's like, no, I'm going to try and knock you out. And he wouldn't agree to do that. That's why I think it fell through. He's like, because as soon as one of them gets starched or flatlined, the whole game's over. As soon as one of them looks bad, that whole thing is over. If one of them gets flatlined, the YouTube stars aren't going to be boxing professional athletes anymore. And I want to see it so bad. I can't stand those two.
Hey, I mean, for entertainment value, I think it's pretty cool. I mean,
I'd watch.
Yeah, I'm going to watch.
I watched the last one. I can't say I didn't.
Oh, who did it? Who did watch Nate Robinson go
the memes that came out of that were just almost as good as the Bernie Sanders memes. Almost. The Bernie Sanders memes, I think they've kind of taken over the meme world, the memes and memes.
That and Robinhood.
Yeah, that and Robinhood. Did you have money in Robinhood, Dutch? Are you a stock market guy? Did you pull it all out?
I got in, I got out. I'm happy.
I'm still riding the wave, man. I made a little money last night, so I'm riding the wave.
I got a little bit of money still hanging on AMC.
Yes,
I'm waiting for that short squeeze with those. And then I sat around. I rode this little bit of Dogecoin wave last night and got out.
That was a good one. Yeah, it's starting to slowly creep back up. I was just looking at it right now. It's starting to creep back up.
I haven't checked it out for a little bit, but I rode it to like
last night.
You got in it last night?
Yeah, I'm just gonna ride it for a while. I think it's gonna go back up still.
I should have got out when it was over 8 cents. Is when I should have.
Yeah, you dummy.
That's when I got out last night.
Did you? That was smart. But it's over 6 right now, so I think it's gonna creep back up.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Hopefully it goes back up.
What happened last time is everybody on TikTok was talking about it, and it freaking spiked. So I'm gonna ride it one more night, and then I'm gonna
see what happens.
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
They broke the game. They broke the game, Dutch. The internet. They figured out all the
right. I know, man. I couldn't believe it. just they're figuring out who's shorting things, and they are like, all right, we're going all in. I mean, I saw one guy on that Wall Street Bets page. He went from 50 grand to like 48 million.
The power of the people,
It's
man.
insane.
The power of the people. They get together and
I know. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
do
And now
too.
Wall
I do too.
Street's wanting regulation, and they want to fix things and get
Yeah.
out of here.
'Cause they
We're
got
trying to play your game, and yeah,
Yep.
you're taking
Yep.
your
Now
ball
you
and you
want
want to go home now.
Yep. So I have a what part of you said you lived in Japan? You were born in Japan. What part of Japan?
No, so my dad was in the Air Force. So
Oh, okay.
I was born in
Okinawa?
Korea,
Oh, Korea.
and no, then I lived a few places stateside, and I was here in Utah for a little bit when I was younger, and then I went to junior high and high school in Japan at Yokota Air Base,
Oh, okay.
which is on mainland. It's near Tokyo. And
Oh, okay.
then right after I graduated high school, I moved back here to Utah in 2000.
All right. I spent 6 months on Okinawa, so that's why I caught that earlier and I didn't get a chance to ask you. So
Oh no.
I love the culture over there.
Yeah. Japan's cool. I've been to Japan.
Oh, I loved it. You know, if I could move back and get a job, I would really highly consider it.
They don't have steel fist in Japan.
No steel fist fights in Japan.
Dutch, come on, man.
You know what? If I had to live off what I made judging,
what else do you do?
Life.
Yeah, it's more like volunteer work, right? Judging, because I'm not trying.
It's basically volunteer work.
Yeah,
It used to be where
Yeah.
we used to do it for free, though. I mean, we didn't get paid a cent. I would drive to St. George, Vernal, all these places to judge, and it was all out of my own pocket for a long time. And then
Really?
me and Dan First, we went in front of the commission a while ago when we started getting us paid. I mean, it started out like at $25. We were just like, what? We just want our gas money. That's all we
Yeah.
want. We're not. We just want to make sure there's good judges around this cage.
Some food vouchers,
So-
maybe, huh?
Yeah, give us some food or something.
Dude, I want to get it.
Exactly.
I do want to get into
I'm
judging.
fine with.
I want to eventually get into judging. I really do. I think more former fighters, that's one way they can give back to MMA.
I think it's a great idea.
I hope more people do that.
Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah, the only thing is that there's when you're really training a lot, and if you're very active with a lot of guys that are fighting, conflicts of interest pop up a lot. I noticed that when somebody who's like, oh, I train out a one hit, and it's like, all right, I got to pull myself off every one hit guys thing, where I train at Westside Jiu-Jitsu now. And, Mark isn't really pumping out MMA fighters anymore. He used to have a few back in the day, but most of the guys, it's just mainly straight jiu-jitsu there now. Right. And it really cuts back on my conflicts of interest. And I mean, I know a lot of people, and I'm cordial, or I'm friendly with a lot of people as well in the MMA community. But I think in my career, I've maybe had to pull myself off one or two fights that I was like, hey, you know what, this is probably a little too close to home. And even if something, I don't have any, I have no skin in the game with who wins a fight. Only thing I want is the person who won the fight to win the fight.
I think
I don't care who wins. I just want the right person to win.
As a sports fan and as a competitor myself, like that's all you could ever ask for from refs, judges, anything, right? It's fair competition above all else. That's all you want. Consistent and fair. Like,
I don't think the public doesn't realize, kind of like fighting. If you've never done it before, you don't realize what goes into it. So, I mean, we're over here, armchair quarterback, and these referees, they stopped the fight too early, or he waited too long, and it's like, well, wait a minute, we're not in there. I'm horrible at it. I'll admit. I am like mother effing everything, and I'm like, just stop the fight. And then I process it for a minute, and I sit there and think, you know what? I wasn't in there. Like maybe he saw something. Like, but first initial reaction. I'm pissed, man. I'm throwing stuff. And
what was the one 2 weeks ago? The guy got dropped 4 times in a round, and you're like, early stoppage,
early stoppage.
Herb Dean, early stoppage.
But I
I'm like,
text literally 30 seconds later. I was like, okay,
bro, he
it
got
was a
dropped
good stoppage.
4 times in the round. It's okay.
I can't remember what the fight was, but yeah.
I think it was that Serbian, that Drusko Serbian guy.
Yeah.
He was a huge favorite.
It's different. So I've judged. I've reffed one event.
How's that?
I've reffed one event before, and it's different being the third man in the cage for sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't even see sitting there as a judge. I'm really able to move myself in the cage and look these guys in the eye and see what's going on and really get a good idea of where they're at mentally and if they're wanting to quit, if they're wanting to get out. So it's definitely being a ref is definitely a different thing for sure.
I wonder if
Go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if after a fight, if like a Herb Dean's just like he hears the scorecards and he's like, "Oh, that one was wrong. It should have went to the other guy." Like, I wonder if those guys are, because like you said, they're seeing it at a different angle. I wonder if they're processing it and talking about it in the back or something.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've had the opportunity to meet like Big John McCarthy a handful of times, going to his ABC trainings and going to the big ABC conventions for judging and reffing and speaking with him. And, those guys are always talking to each other. The high level guys like Herb Dean and John McCarthy, those guys are like, hey, did you see that fight? Did I stop it early? What could I have done different? Where could I have been that would have maybe negated this guy getting another punch in the face? All sorts of things. So I do think as a whole, the judging and reffing community are very open to criticism and always trying to get better. So
it's just, and that is another thing that I think people don't understand as much too. This sport is just entering nationwide, worldwide, validity as a mainstream sport. Like
ESPN, ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was such even just 7-8 years ago, it was still a lot of people calling it, like human cockfighting and all this other, all these other crazy stereotypes and labels on it. It's finally entering a stage of professional athleticism, and there's still some stuff that is going to catch up and get better. And I just see judging as one of those things. And I would imagine in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a lot better judging, and we're going to see a lot better refs come up through it too, that have just been around long enough and have the experience.
Definitely. And one thing that I see too is fighters and coaches, they think they know all the rules.
Oh,
they think they know the scoring criteria, but they don't. I mean, I have so my little Facebook page that I have where I give all the live results to fights all the time. I would let people know, be like, hey, John McCarthy is here in Utah. He's doing a judges training for free. So you coaches and fighters should be coming out to this. You should know what I'm looking for, what's going to be the most advantageous for you to do in a fight that's going to really help solidify your win. But when you're thinking that just because you took this guy down and did nothing and he got back up and he cracked you 2 times when you guys were down on the ground, I don't care that you took him down. You got cracked 2 times with an elbow, even though you were in his guard. Those are the kind of things you need to know, that you took him down, you were in the dominant position, but dude, you ate 2 elbows and then he got back up. That did nothing. And those are things that fighters need to know.
So my second fight, sloppy fight, it was horrible. But my second fight, I had 2 judges give me 30-27 and another one was 29-28. I spent probably 2 to 2.5 minutes of the entire first round in basically a headlock. I was in his guard and he was trying to do a guillotine, but it was basically in a headlock. And once I knew I was safe, I just started punching his body, head, blindly. And I just the whole time I was thinking, I just need to stay active. And 2 of the 3 judges ended up giving me the round. And I know a lot of people felt like I shouldn't have been, but and I mean, I don't know how I would have scored it. Obviously I'm biased and I'm in it, but I remember I'm like, I thought that was like, I'm like, I think that's pretty cool that at least two of the judges noticed that that guy was literally just holding me in his guard in basically a headlock, so I couldn't move. I know he was kind of trying to fish for a guillotine, but he didn't have it, and it wasn't close.
Yeah.
And I was the active fighter the whole round, and he contested it with the commission and all this nonsense. Like whatever, it was fine.
Oh, really?
Whatever. I beat him in the rematch anyway, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, yeah, I mean, there are and Scott came on our podcast and he talked about a lot of things, and that's why it kind of drives me crazy when I hear like UFC commentators. We heard it last weekend. It was kind of a closer round. One fighter, I think, had the edge, and then the other fighter got like a takedown, but didn't do anything with it with like 12 seconds left in the round. He's like, it stole him the round. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Probably didn't steal him the round.
You're not stealing around with just a little takedown.
But the problem is commentators at the UFC level saying that and making people think that, and then the judges, right? And then they come out with the scorecards and people are like, oh, the guy got screwed. They get all mad about it. And it's like, well, no.
Yeah.
Because that little takedown that he didn't do anything with, that didn't win him that round.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we fix
people
that?
Screaming. Like I said, I really think it's like it's people needing to know what judges are looking at for scoring criteria. I mean, people will think that just like I said, just a regular little takedown is going to score them a lot of points, or just like I said, fighters and coaches need to know what their fighters are being scored against. You're not going to go to any other sport and play it and not know the rules. So just knowing that is going to help out a lot of things. And go, like, even if you're not a judge or you never even plan on being the judge, your coach or you as a fighter should, if there's an opportunity for you to go, you should be at these ABC trainings. You should be getting as much knowledge as you can. It's not just MMA, even though we're getting punched in the face and we're getting kicked, it's a very cerebral sport as well. So you really need to know what's going on and what you can do to get yourself that little bit of an edge. I mean, if you're looking for that 1% edge that's going to win a fight, knowing the rules and knowing how to score points is going to get you there.
We should start a little seminar. We should do a seminar like once or twice a year and get all the fighters together, and you and Scott can come.
Well,
me and Zach
honestly,
me and Zach can be the test dummies.
Well, it's crazy. Like I said, Big John has been here multiple times, and there was not a single fighter or a single coach here. It was just referees and judges, and it was open to everybody.
I think,
and I've tried to let people know.
If that happens, you need to message me directly or Jason, and we will get the word out there. I guarantee you we will get fighters. I don't know about coaches, but I guarantee you I will get fighters. Because I'll be there.
Hey, if it ever comes up, I'll let you guys know for sure. Because I think it's huge. I think you should know every little bit about the sport that you're going to be in, especially if you want to go to a high level. If you just want to go in there on a weekend just to punch somebody in the face, just go in there and punch someone in the face. But if you really want to get good and you really want to know the ins and outs, you should be there.
I think it's great. I think it's just great that you've come on here and said that. Scott echoed the same thing when he was on here, and the information is out there for the fighters to get it. They just have to want to get it. They have to want it.
What's crazy is not just for local fighters. Let's get like UFC fighters at those meetings so that they know the rules. There's so many UFC fighters that don't know the rules. It's insane. It's insane. It's be like NBA basketball players.
You'll see it a lot. You'll see it a lot.
Yeah. It's so crazy. All right, I have one final question for you. We've talked about the isolation box. If there was one thing you could change right now, rules or whatever dynamic, besides the stuff we've already discussed, what would you change with the status of local MMA, and then of course like big stages like UFC, Bellator, and those.
Okay, in just judging.
Anything, but
Anything.
yeah, I'd probably judging since that's your area of expertise.
I guess locally, I would like to see amateur fights go from 3 minutes to 5 minutes.
The cardio would be horrible.
It
All right.
would be, but man, 3 minutes is so fast. You watch a 3-minute fight and then you go to a 5-minute fight. I'm like, oh my, is this an hour-long fight right now? Because 3 minutes, it goes quick. And honestly, with amateur fights, sometimes it's hard. It's like you just get these two like Tasmanian devils. They're just like, bop, 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 and you're just like, how do I judge this right now? So I'm hoping something goes a little bit longer where it's more defining. So in that aspect, I would like to see it. I know some other commissions and stuff do 5-minute rounds and stuff like that. But
it does 2-minute rounds.
That's just so tough.
Crazy.
Where where boxing, it's like there's one facet to this sport. There's so many facets to MMA where 2 minutes to kind of showcase anything is really tough. So on a local level, I guess I would like to see just 5-minute rounds, maybe. I guess that's the only thing I would like to, but it's also not a huge thing either.
I can tell you right now, I don't fight, but I just did 3-minute rounds this morning during my training, and I'm dead.
That's another thing. People don't realize how long even a minute is when someone's trying to kill you.
Hey, and I was just hitting pads and working on footwork with my trainer, and I'm tell you what, I'm dripping sweat. I'm out of breath. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is horrible. And I'm not in horrible shape, but I tell you what, that humbled me real quick.
I could tell you, getting ready for 5-round title fights, the thought of doing having to get ready for 5-minute round, 5-minute rounds, that's, I don't know. That's, there would be, it would be a lot, but I mean, it's probably a good thing. So I have this kind of idea so head kicks is something that I brought up before too to the commission. Like why amateurs, why we can't throw head kicks. Like majority of the country, it's legal. All of the surrounding states, it's legal for amateurs to throw head kicks. It's supposedly a safety thing, but they could throw head kicks without shin pads and the kickboxing that they did with steel fist before everything shut down, right? Like Jen Snyder, 25 minutes of pure death. It's exactly what it would be.
25 minutes of pure death.
Yeah, it's exactly what it would be. But I actually think that there actually should be two avenues of amateur fighting. Like there should be almost 2 levels of amateur before you go pro. You can have like the amateur, like the beginner with maybe like 3-minute rounds and no head kicks and stuff like that. And then I think that there should be kind of another level, like especially guys that are close to pro, fighting for belts, things like that. Maybe that's where you could implement head kicks and 5-minute rounds
before they go pro. So like a middle,
before they go pro,
kind of like a AAA of MMA.
Yeah,
I like it.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, you can.
I just see some of these.
We're getting punched in the head. We're getting. Yeah, it's trauma either way.
My favorite thing. I give Scott a
and then I guess on a national level.
Go ahead. I think we're lagging.
Might be a little bit of a lag there. Dutch, can you hear us okay?
Oh, there we go.
He's lagging a little bit again.
A little bit of a lag, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good now. You guys good?
Yep.
Are you guys there?
It's still lagging a little bit. That's all right. We'll let you get it. We'll let you
hear you guys.
Can you hear us? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
About 5-second delay.
Yes.
5-second delay. Yeah,
okay.
Dutch, we'll let you get out of here, man.
No?
Yeah, we'll let you get out of here. We'll catch up on another date. Hey, we appreciate you
Okay,
coming on,
sounds
man.
good. It was good talking to you guys. Thank you again for having me on.
Appreciate you
Cool.
taking the time out of your day, man.
Okay.
Thanks, Dutch.
Thank you. I just took him off of the. We're still live. I just took him out of there because he was lagging pretty good. Yeah. Anyways, great
Thanks, Jen.
conversation.
I think it was a good idea.
Hey, great information for all. I hope people listen to this like they listen to the one, or if they haven't, go back and listen to the one we did with Scott Boiler. It's yeah.
We just start posting like these little clips, like little like 10-minute like clips of like judging and requirements. Like you said, almost record a seminar and then just start sending the links out to people like every like 3 or 4 times a year to remind them.
Yeah, that would be pretty good though. If I remember right though, didn't Scott say he went over everything in the dressing rooms? And maybe that's not the time to do it.
Yeah. So
probably not the time to do it, but maybe
they go over
maybe,
they go over the rules.
Yeah.
They go over the rules. And then they're trying to just give us a little bit more information of like in-depth information every time. And it was very helpful. Before I think my last 2 fights, I got a little bit of extra information. And
maybe we put something together semi-annually twice a year where it's like, hey, I don't know.
Damage plan, judging rules seminar.
Get Dutch in there, get Scott Boiler to come.
We would get Big John. Get your guy Herb Dean.
Herb Dean. I like it.
I'll tell Herb Dean, I'm like, hey, you guys should roll. I'll let you and Herb Dean do like an exhibition.
No, dude.
Like
after my training this morning, it's humbling. It's very humbling.
Well, so I was talking about it with one of the black belts at One Hit this morning. We did a kickboxing class, but he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, Matt Wilkinson.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was a pretty rough injury, I guess, at the gym last night. And, and it's a big, strong guy and just like, freak accident thing. And we were just talking about like, I'm like, man, he's tough. Like, he's tough. And we start talking about rolling. And that's the thing with like jiu-jitsu, and it's all over MMA. There's always a bigger fish, man. Yeah. There's always a bigger fish. There are some very, very talented local fighters here in Utah that don't train the way they're not supposed to because it's humbling. And it sucks to get ragdolled. I mean, is for me, dude, I mean, I have a lot of fun at the gym. I have good training partners and we have a lot of fun at the gym. But I'd be lying if I said that my ego doesn't get involved sometimes and it gets a little competitive sometimes. It's humbling, dude. When you get beat up by
I tell you what, man, I just had this conversation with Mina from Wasatch Combat this morning about, she asked me what my goal was out of doing this training. Cause I'm starting to train 3 times a week.
MMA fight.
And I said, it's the challenge of coming in here and doing something that I've never done before and that I'm not good at. Like, I mean, just my footwork, like it's embarrassing to think like, damn, like, man, I really am starting at the bottom with this. And it's kind of making me look on the outside of when I get clients of my own, when they come into me and say they're intimidated to walk into a gym to lift weights because they've never been in there before. Now I know that feeling of how they feel. It's intimidating, man. But I think you just got to keep going, man. You got to get those repetitions. You got to get that consistency in there, and it'll pay off in the long run.
I guarantee you this: there is a 0% chance that you are worse than I was when I started.
I'm pretty bad, Zach. My
0
feet are stuck in the mud.
270 pounds, dude. There's a 0% chance. I was so bad.
You know what's funny is you see all these guys on the internet talking trash and the internet keyboard warriors. And I'm thinking, man, have these guys ever really been into a martial arts gym or a boxing gym and just
most of them haven't left their parents' basement since high school.
Have they ever even got punched in the face? Because if they haven't, I guarantee you they know nothing. Know nothing.
That's actually the thing. So I used to be horrible at arguing with people. My better half and my wife has helped. Hillary has helped contain me on this, and walks me off the ledge regularly. Of hey, don't get too sucked into it too far.
Yeah.
I used to be horrible at arguing with people, and that was the thing that used to make me so mad, especially after I got a couple fights. Then I'm like, dude, you've never been in there. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. All the people making fun of Connor, and I get it. Like, he ran his mouth. So a little bit it's deserved, because the way he ran it, he used to run his mouth. Like, you have to eat your crow, like when you run your mouth, like Connor did, right? But the other part of it is a lot of people are saying stuff. I'm like, you are 340 pounds and haven't seen your Willie in probably 2 decades. You should not. You should not. You should not be, talking crap on Conor McGregor getting knocked out by one of the baddest dudes on the planet. It's crazy.
But that's everybody. Like, I worked at a bar for 6 years. You get a little bit of alcohol in people, and everybody thinks they're a badass. And it's like, no, you're not, dude. Like, you need to pump the brakes on that.
I have a buddy. He doesn't listen to this because he's I'm just gonna say this. He wrestled. He's a good athlete, really good athlete, very good natural athlete, good basketball player, great baseball player, but a good athlete. Wrestled for 1 year in junior high.
Yeah.
And he believes to his core, he is convinced that he could hang with me on a mat. And I'm like, dude, come
There's
on.
There's levels to this, man. There's levels to this.
It's not even the levels. I'm like, you wrestled for 1 year in junior high and you were pretty good at it. I'm on that mat like 3 to 4 days a week, grappling with guys better than me.
Yeah.
For the last 3 years. And he even said, he's like, what if I submit you? I'm like, if you submit me, you can take that belt. You can have it. Because it's not happening.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Now, maybe if he comes and trains for 3 months and he's a good athlete, like maybe he can figure out how to catch me and stuff. Like, that's the beauty of this, right? Is like, if he trains consistently, you'll start figuring out some stuff. And I get caught by white belts still. Like, it happens. Like, it's all part of it. Like, and there's no shame in it. You just roll and you just keep going.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that I have so many friends. I have friends that are like, man, maybe I should do a fight. I'm like, dude, you couldn't make it. You wouldn't last a week at the gym.
Go to a class for a week or two. It's hard, man. It's hard for me to walk in there and just be like, oh man, here we go again. I know what she's going to tell me. She's going to be laughing at my footwork. And not that I'm not saying she's laughing at it, but you know what I mean? It's like, all right, time to get humbled really quick, where part of me is like, I want to go back to dialed in fitness and just do my bench presses and my squats. I don't want to work on footwork.
But one of the coolest things about the MMA community and the MMA gyms is I've never ever seen or heard in any of all the local gyms here of anybody that's like, yeah, I went into it. I wanted to get into it. I went to a gym, but everybody was mean and just made fun of me. So I never went back. Never heard it.
I can speak from experience on that. We've talked about it on the podcast. I've been to pretty much every MMA gym and trained with pretty much everybody locally. And not one time did they make me feel out of place, or, even though I knew everybody was better than me, nobody came across that way. Everybody came across as respectful, helpful, like teaching me, not just like, hey, I can kick this guy's ass and choke him out. It's okay. I already know you can do that. You don't need to rub it in my face. But
the only people that get beat up and they get humbled are the ones that come in with an ego and try and make a point.
Yeah.
Right.
But I cannot speak. I hope there's people listening to this that have never been to a class, and I highly recommend you go to an MMA gym and take a class.
Any of them. I would say
jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, boxing.
There are places from Ogden down to Provo,
out
to Willa, up to Heber, like
high level too.
There is, I can almost say with a certain certainty, if you go in to want to just learn and better yourself, you will be accepted and treated with nothing but respect and help.
100%. I'm a perfect example of it, because I see it. I do it. I've been living it, and it's been great. I love the training. So, all right, man. Well,
LFA fights tonight.
Boom, 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 boom. I'm working on my footwork all weekend.
You want to come up to
Hillary? Sheree never listens to my podcast, so she does sometimes. She's at work.
She's today. Jason, why don't you and Sheree come up to One Hit tomorrow morning, and we'll get Hillary there, and we'll all train tomorrow morning.
Maybe. supposed to have my daughter tonight. I mean, I guess she could come up there. I could drag her up there. You can have your boys.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll come up. We'll work on that one.
We'll work on it.
I want to come up. I love coming up and training.
Well,
it's fun.
Always coming. But I'm just saying, bring Sheree and get Hillary in there, and then we'll.
Sheree's been going to cycling. Cycling. I think she does a cycling class in the morning. She's been doing, but
she's fit. She'll be fine. She can
get her into some
go cycle and then come to some jujitsu.
Yeah. But all I know is I need to work on my footwork, Zach, because
me too.
I'm a slow old white guy.
And I have no rhythm. So yeah.
And I need to stretch. Yeah. That's a huge thing for me.
So which fight was it? Oh, it was my fight against Elias. It was my third fight. Yeah, because it was March. No, was it March? Was Elias in March? Yeah, Elias was a March fight. And Duke was playing.
Yeah.
So my fight's in like 3 fights, and I got my hoodie rolled up in the corner, laying in the corner on my phone in the back watching the Duke basketball game, March Madness.
Nice.
Big Duke fan. Got him in my bracket, going all the way, right? And Aldo goes, so my left shoulder, left-handed, my left shoulder was fractured and separated, right? So I was like, I'm winging this anyways. Like, got it all shot up. Like, I'm just winging this fight anyways. So I'm sitting over the corner, and Aldo's like, come on, we got to stretch and warm up. I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. Like, let me just watch I'm just going to watch the game, and then I'm just going to go out there and just wing it. And he's like, no, let's go stretch and warm up. I was like, I'm good, man. Like, do a couple little, like, side, like, stretches and just important. Throw a couple jabs and call it good, because I couldn't use my left arm anyway. So
it's important.
Yeah, we gotta stretch.
Anyways, well, until next week, we'll be back next week to break down Volkov and Overeem fight next Saturday.
Overeem is back.
And we will work on getting some more fun guests on for you. Shout out to Dutch for coming on and joining us.
That was awesome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well,
all right, guys. Till next week. We out.
Yeah.